Howdy doodly gamerinos, and welcome to the Path to LCS stream. We are on our last day of week 2, and it's me. It's tomorrow's President's Day, but today is Joshi Day. I'm taking over here on the Path to LCS stream. I'm joined here by Mazel and Beatdown Boulevard. Appreciate you, Lennon. Always love having you guys. Are you guys ready? I feel like we got some really banger games yesterday on the Challengers League, but today we end up with one of our highest level matchups in Dignitas versus 100 Thieves.
That's going to be a lot of fun. I was listening to some bangers coming to this one, so I got all the energy. I got to calm down a little bit, but it's going to be a fun day of action for sure.
There you go. What about you, Beat?
We got, honestly, I'm excited. I mean, we have our first series, GGC versus CLGF, but I'm most excited about the last series of the day, Dignitas, 100 Thieves. Like, that is, if we didn't already do those players from those teams, it would be our super heavyweight SmackDown. It's going to be a good one.
Oh, for sure. But before we can get into that, we got to talk a little bit about what has happened over the past couple days on social media and take a look at who's tweeting what and whether or not we should be excited about it. And this was one of the most exciting things that actually happened yesterday, right? TSM Challengers, perfect game up against Team Liquid Honda first. And we don't get that very often here in the Challengers League, you guys.
Not at all. And also the fact that Dox is the one tweeted, I love some of that confidence building that Dox is able to put the building blocks together for, right? We all love this guy, and it's about time he's able to put on some star performances around the stars on his team as well.
It was a very convincing victory. It's funny, Lennon, you and I were casting it. I didn't even realize until after the game ended that it was indeed a perfect game from TSM. It's definitely the first one we've had this split, and it might be the first one I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd actually have to go back and check and see if this was faster than the Team Liquid Academy last year in their game up against Immortals, because 1830, that's really close. I'm sure we'll get some stats to get that for us fairly soon, but that's what Doctor had to say as we roll on to our next one. We always get to get the boy, Keel, coming in. He gets his Nunu game, gets a win off of Dignitas Challengers beatdown. The way that this guy has been playing it is honestly impressive just about everybody, but I think you most of all might enjoy the Nunu gameplay. I
do. I got to cast the first time he brought it out this split, and it's an exciting pick because I've actually been saying for a while that this pick is super viable, especially in such a gank-heavy meta, even with the jungle changes. It's very clear from the gameplay we've seen this weekend that gank-heavy style, Sejuani and Elise, things like that are still very viable, very playable, and this, I'm confident this pick solo won game 2 for Wildcard yesterday.
Moving on to our next one then, we'll get to see a little bit more from across the board, and this was one of my favorite ones. Dignitas, while they did end up going 1-1, game 1 was all about Hoon. Even game 2, there's a lot of Hoon as well. Did you know that Hoon tames Moose in his spare time, Lennon?
All I'm saying is he's got good form. I know what the form looks like where you're supposed to be riding a wild animal like that. He's looking real good. So Hoon in time is all I need. But it really was really nice. And actually it was kind of motivational because Hoon tweeted out yesterday. He's like, I'm going to do better. And I think that being able to see the bounce back today is going to be interesting.
Yeah, he's been looking super good. But we got one more before we have an opportunity to go into the rest of the day. And that is Emily Rand. Not going to lie, I wish this Dignitas versus Wildcard match was a best of 3 beatdown. Honestly, we had one super dominant game coming up from Dignitas. We had a very tightly contested game from Wildcard where they ended up just rolling over towards the end. But we only get 2-game series here in the Challengers League.
It's so sad, but at the least, even though that was not the 3-game series that I feel like the viewers, all of us really deserved and wanted to see, it just makes it more exciting for when these two teams eventually meet in playoffs. Because we talk about some of these provisional teams who have shown a lot of high-level performances, and this thought that can they keep it up? I think Wildcard have proved themselves that they are actually a top team in this league, and come playoffs time, they're going to be taking names when we get to best of 3s and 5s.
Oh, for sure. But we got to keep today rolling. Remember, tomorrow is President's Day. A lot of people are going to have the day off, so we asked all of the rest of the casters what they're going to be doing with their little bit of extra time.
Feels good to relax. We finally have some time off, Kangas. What are we gonna do?
I don't know, probably watch cartoons. What do you think everyone else is up to?
Oh boy, can't wait to put together and paint these miniatures. Ta-da!
To the zoo to find some ducks, but instead, I found Eric and Steve hanging out. Look at them back there.
Lennon, what day is it?
Oh, it's CLG. We gotta go.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, we overslept.
Honestly, you guys, I didn't really understand because I hadn't seen this video before, but I know that Alex said in one of our group chats, man, it was so funny that I ran into Steven Lennon at the other day. Honestly, picture perfect for you guys, but it's not just us that have been having a little bit of a day off, despite how actually, real quick, before we get into it, B, what were you doing? Are you just biking?
No, I was walking. That's a park really close to my house, and my contribution to this video is either going to be sleeping or touching grass, and touching grass felt right.
There you go. But it's not just the casters who have a little bit of a break, it's also the players, so we'll see what they will be doing with their President's Day.
It's an off day, probably just individually work on some stuff, work on things with, such a recent patch, just, through solo queue, figure out, just individually keep climbing the ranks, keep working on that regard, and then individually outside of, league and all that, I enjoy playing basketball, so might hoop with whoever's around, might shoot some shots.
Yeah, probably just like breathe a little bit after a 4-0 weekend. If I do anything, really just like go for a walk. It's like a really nice place to live in Vegas, and I haven't really seen much of it, so probably go hiking as like a team or something like that. And then other than that, just like homework or scrim, yeah.
So normally we start off every day by going to the gym, so I imagine that's how it's going to be again.
Sure.
But maybe a little bit of a longer session, maybe some more intense basketball gaming.
Ooh, okay.
Probably just go to the gym, get some groceries at the store, stuff like that.
Maybe go to the gym. I like watching anime on the side. Whatever has a good story, honestly. Whatever, good story, good art, like usually it catches my eye, and if it does have both, like, yeah, I'm usually watching it. Yeah, I try to read and try to find ways to like educate myself, like, can't always be like 24/7 league, like sometimes you gotta spend an hour doing like touching grass, like looking outside the world.
Usually go to the gym before I start my day off. Then after that, probably like everyone else, maybe not like everyone else, but just play solo queue.
Weird. It sounds like our top players always tend to be playing a lot of League of Legends, even in their time off. Feels like such a weird.
Thunk?
Yeah.
Man.
Anyway, we'll see how
something new every day.
We'll see how much time they actually get off with their President's Day. But one of the things, if you've been following at Path to LCS on Twitter, I'm sure you have been seeing that we have had our community top lane bracket bonanza. It's kind of like March Madness, but only with top laners. And they were, in fact, seeded based on their current team's placement. And so, this is the one that the community did, Lennon. What are you a little bit surprised about here?
Well, I'm surprised that FlyQuest took back-to-back L's with Lunasi and Phillip losing back-to-back to Hoon. But, Hoon got knocked down by Sniper. And things are right in the world. I think Moose Hater versus Sniper, it's obviously two of our most standout top laners in terms of kind of presence. So I'm really excited to see how this goes down in the vote for the community, because I think it's going to be contentious.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a couple surprises, right? I feel like Moose Hater and Sniper, they've been good. They're exciting, but we will get to show you guys exactly what it was that we did. We also had an internal vote, the exact same bracket, and Beatdown, ours looks a little bit different.
I think the word you're looking for is correct, Josh, because I agree with technically both of you guys, where it's true. Sniper and Moose Hater definitely have a lot of presence. They are the more exciting players, but when it comes to performances, top of the table, I don't really see that one there. And Haunter getting in the top is it may be surprising to some just because of the fact that TSM are doing the best. Despite their big win yesterday. But, I mean, he has been a standout for this team. Like, it is ridiculous what he's doing against every other top laner in the lead, even from losing positions overall with TSM.
And a player that I think Bradley versus Haunter in the first round, based on how the seeding worked out, was a little bit unfortunate. But Len, and I think the player that really, got done a little bit dirty by the community was Surdy, because Moose Hater, he's got the popular vote for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely does. And I think it was interesting to see. Obviously, Moose Hater has just blown open on social media with all the different videos and obviously the trash talk he's been able to do because of the performances he's had. It's backed up. But yeah, the seeding turned out very interesting, I'll say none the least.
Talk about him in Europe, to be fair. Like,
they
everyone
do.
knows.
Whenever
Everyone
Garrett
knows.
comes up, doesn't matter where in the world it is, they already start talking about how Moose Hater did it first. But
there's a moose from North America, I think. That's like the trickle down effect once it gets
moving around and around. But that is it. If you want to get more in on the action, follow at Path to LCS for sure. We'll be doing more of these in the near future. But now we got to turn our attention a little bit away from the direct competitive scene and start talking about Champions Queue, which is going to be opening tonight. Woo! Congratulations, everybody. We have Champions Queue going again. All the awesome streams will be happening. You'll see all of your favorite players in comms with each other. And we have a couple of different prizes this time around. It's not going to be the same kind of cash that you are used to from previous splits. Instead, first place is going to get a Thanos helmet, right? They get to wear that. Like, it's not just a statue, you guys. You can actually like put that on your head. So that's going to be something that's very cool.
But then you leave your Nexus exposed, and any good player knows not to leave the Nexus exposed.
Don't want to get backdoored. But yeah, we got another helmet. We got a medallion. The top 50 players will get these jackets with the names of all the other players on them. And then the top 100 players will also be getting t-shirts as well. And one of the big things we were looking at with this, right, when I was talking to Whooply is it felt like the money incentive versus the pride incentive has really gotten different players to kind of get involved. Some players really cared about the money, but others are just like, it's just a different solo queue. But now, when you get something cool, just like with the Proving Grounds medallions we had last year, it gives you something that you can hold on to for life.
That helmet is just so sick. The fact that it is wearable, I know I was beefing about the Nexus thing, but my God, like that thing is just so cool. The color scheme as well, it just fits so well. Beat down.
Yeah, I like the novelty of it. Really like resonates with me. It's cool. Like I would be wearing it. Like if I won this thing, I would be taking pictures in it. I'd go to the store with it.
Well, luckily we won't ever have to subject anybody talented to that, as we are going to be jumping over to a little bit more of what we're going over today with today's standings. These are updated as of this morning, and I guess no real surprise if you've been following Path to LCS, the Challengers League, for this entire time. But I think we're finally starting to get some real separation, right? You have, Dignitas all the way down through down through Cincinnati Fear. They have a 2-game gap. You have Golden Guardians through through TSM and Immortals and AOE, Lennon, and then after that we have our 3 provisional teams at the bottom.
For me, obviously, I think there's been a really nice conversation to be had between Dignitas, Cloud9, Wildcard, but what I'm interested in is kind of the nitty-gritty, and especially seeing some of the teams like IMTC down in 12th place there, even TSMC, with some of the strength that we've seen from them and some of the confidence we've heard from the players as well. And especially EGC, I feel like that's one that it just feels really rough because we have seen and know that Shaden obviously is so strong. We've talked with Soul and seen Soul's kind of conversational method about how they're approaching the season. And so there's a lot to prove in these last couple weeks.
And Beatdown, I have a question for you. First off, Eric bet me yesterday that Cloud9 was going to end up first in the regular season, and I took Dignitas, and the loser is going to have to shave. What are your thoughts on those two teams and where you think they're going to end up?
I think it's going to be Dignitas staying on top. Realistically, the fact they've played some of the toughest teams in the league. Today is really going to be the determinant of that, because the only one they haven't played is actually 100 Thieves Challengers, who they'll be playing at the end of the day. And if regular season performances overall are any indication, even if it's a split, Dignitas should still be able to hold on to the top spot. And I think it's because they've been able to overcome Cloud9. So I think overall, they are going to be the ones at the end of the season. You said in first place. You said you're the one who bet on Dig?
Yeah, I got Dig. He got Cloud9.
So
I think he's going to be
Eric's
bald.
facial hair. That's what I mean.
Rip Eric.
But real quick, for the rest of today, Golden Guardians versus CLG Faith, FlyQuest Challengers against Wildcard, and then we end, as we've said, with Dignitas Challengers going up against 100 Thieves. But Lennon, we got to start getting into today's games because we do have a team that is still trying to find their way towards the top. Golden Guardians have been a little bit more impressive than I think people might have initially been expecting, especially based on this organization's track record. But Lennon, what do you got for me about these guys?
I really think that this team has a lot of the gas in the tank that you'd want to see. I think Rosethorn has really been big brain in terms of a lot of the pathing we've seen. We've seen some really standout early game pathing from Rosethorn, but it was about, for me, this team trying to figure out Array and Prismal, a little bit more of that veteran style bot lane, Array a little bit newer, but Prismal having that role swap, and then bringing some of that experience that Young had an inkling of in the LCS to the team, and through communications and stuff, they were able to try to get on the same page with a lot of the stuff that Golden Guardians LCS was doing. So I think this team does have a lot of the strategy behind them. It's about execution, though.
Yeah, and Beatdown, we got their new opponents. We do have to unfortunately announce that Serenok has decided to depart the team for personal reasons, and it's been replaced by Town coming in for CLG Faith. And Beatdown, I think you're one of the people who will know more about Town than a lot of the rest of the people in the audience.
Right, because this is actually not just a replacement, but a return for Town. He was part of CLG Faith last year in the summer during the as part of the Proving Ground circuit during their run, and he did impress a lot of people during the qualifiers with some pretty solid performances. He's a player who I even went back and saw some of his games very recently because he was playing for Team Ambition in the NACL queues, and he's a player who I think in this particular meta could actually be one to watch out for because he is that bit of a melee specialist. He plays the Akalis, the Silases, the Cassidans, who are all just right smack dab in the middle of this meta.
But he is also going up directly into Young, a player who had recent LCS experience, London, and this is definitely one of those spots where Town, as they are trying to prove themselves, is going up against somebody who's actually had a fantastic start. And as we roll some of Town's clips, what can you tell me about what you're expecting between these two players?
Well, I think that Young will obviously look to try and have a little bit of pride here, coming into a new player coming on to CLG Faith. I guess not new because he's coming back, but in actuality, I think Young has had some of those good performances, but recently we've had some of those struggles for mid lane. It has been more so about Array, about Prismal, even Concepts carry potential sometimes. And so Young, I think with a bit of a chip on his shoulder and some of that shyness to him, he's going to be looking to kind of down smash this mid lane.
Yeah, and on the other side, we've seen all these strong melee champions coming out from Town, but Young, he's got some of the melees, but he also is known for some of that mage play at the same time, Beatdown. And I mean, you said he's coming right on back. He's looking to take Young to task. Do you think that Young's going to just stick up with that coming on from this young whippersnapper?
It's going to be hard because Young is also a player who, before this split started, was also inexperienced. Someone we were really excited about because of mechanics, but very quickly, not just with his time in NACL, but also his time in the LCS, Young has proven very quickly that he is a formidable mid and someone to keep an eye on. It will be a difficult test for Town, but I think Town actually does have potential because, I mean, if I'm looking for mid laners who are a little bit newer, I think melee specialists are fine. You can learn how to play mages and things like that, but those mechanics for playing those kinds of champions like the Silases, the Akalis, is a little bit harder to grind out.
Yeah, let's take a little bit more of a look at what Young has been able to accomplish so far in his time on Golden Guardians Challengers. And, I mean, one of the impressive things, I think, to me, is honestly the solo kill he gets against the king of solo kills here in Menace, Lennon.
I think that you get to see some of those little mechanics and why Young has been lauded as one of those upstart mid laners as well. And as you had said, a little bit fresh coming in, a little bit green, but it's also these moments on the likes of the Aurelias that we're seeing him just absolutely decimate these kinds of very minute team fights.
And Beatdown, I mean, it does look like we were saying, like there's going to be a lot of melee characters coming in towards today's games, especially between these two mid laners. Again, we got to keep coming back to it. What is it that Town can do, especially when working with the rest of CLG Faith and NXI, that might be able to get them the lead and even potentially find them their second game of the season?
It's going to be a tough one because realistically, one player, especially with the struggles that CLG Faith have, aren't going to be able to really change anything immediately. It is a process. We could see some good performances today, I think, because Young has had at least some competitive experience. He's played with this team before, is familiar with the org, and I can't imagine that he will just be that missing piece. I know you've all seen the puzzle piece meme in the back, probably. But this is something to be excited about today in the mid matchup in isolation, and also this roster going forward, because maybe this is the start of the turnaround here for them.
And so with that, we'll see how much of that can come true. But now I got to take my part in the Twitch chat and say, casters, start the game.
Wait, where's my button? Hold on.
You have a button?
I lost it.
Okay.
Well, it looks like we started.
We got
anyway,
it.
So hey, shout out to production. Thank you, Joshi, though. Nice little stuff to get that conversation started for us. But now we're getting into it. It's CLG Faith on this blue side with Town in that mid lane. We got GGC over on the red side. We have the likely ban of the Elise towards Rosethorn. Can't have that one going for Mr. Rosethorn at all. And then the Ashe, obviously just so meta right now. The Draven actually targeting that bot lane of GGC as well.
And it's crazy because before last week, I would think that's a crazy ban to throw Array's way, but it's something that he's added to his pool. He even mentioned in the interview, been trying out some new stuff, has clearly been paying dividends here. And overall, talking about Golden Guardians as a whole, at the start of the split, things were not looking great. We had expectations. We knew it was a work in progress for a largely new roster with only a couple returning members, but it's been great to see how far they've come. I look at this team at 11-7 and think they can actually not only belong here, but actually be above that, because some of the gameplay we've seen as of late has very much impressed me, and I'm starting to believe that this could actually be one of the top teams when we get into playoffs, especially because of the new stuff they've been showing us.
Yeah, true that. Now we are getting into the last parts of the bans here. We had a lot of focus towards the ADC pool. Caitlyn, the final ban by CLG Faith. We also get the Varus ban by GGC and the Maokai ban. It's the first pick of that Sejuani. Really, that facilitator we've seen rise so highly in priority. If it's not Maokai, it's not Vi, it's Sejuani. We'll see what the response is here. I would expect the jungler picked up in the first phase, ADC as well, and there's the Zeri or Array, and I would expect something like the Lulu or even the Yuumi, even though it's gotten a little bit nerfed into the ground.
Yeah, there is the chance for support takeaways here, which do happen, especially with the popularity of Xayah Rakan. So they're going to just end up grabbing the Lulu for themselves here, it looks like. And that makes a lot of sense. You can still pick jungle on 3 and make that decision on what you want after.
Shocker.
This pick this is interesting to me, though, because when I think of Aaron and Sketch, you take off nameplates, this is normal stuff, right? But when I see Aaron and Sketch with what they've been playing, Lucian Nami doesn't really come out to me. Aaron has especially looked good on things like the Ezreal, those safer lane picks, and those have been some of the solid performances we've seen so far. But this will be a cool look.
Yeah, this is a good adaptation, though. I mean, it is a meta pick. I'm not going to say they aren't playing these, because definitely in scripts, I'm sure they are taking something that's very, very strong into this. And so, especially with those stage games, I think this is a sign of things to come for Aaron and Sketch in terms of the way they want to approach Array and Prismal. It's going to be very difficult, though. It is a Zeri Lulu, so it's about those mechanics in the bottom lane. But we do see as well Rosethorn gets that Vi, so another facilitation jungler, but a little bit more of that forward press, it feels like. And in the second phase, Golden Guardians are going to ban away the Fiora. We also get the Scion ban, so we're all focused on top lane right now.
That's right, and it's probably because you're seeing Fiora taken away. I bet Jax is something they'll go for as well, just because this Vijani has actually had some pretty solid performances, almost beating Wildcard in Game 2 of their series a few weeks back. Targeting that top pool, because Concept has been leaning back more into the tanks. At the start of the split, he's been playing more meta, lane-dominant champions like Renekton and things like that. But I think we're starting to pull away from those sort of things. But it's actually the Sylas, which I kind of like, paying some respect over there to Town, who is definitely proficient on the pick.
I like the Azir ban as well by CLG Faith. Try to take that one away, but I do believe we probably won't get the fix.
Yeah, it's a hover. I don't
but
believe it.
I would love to see something like this, something a little bit aggressively tended for Young, and it's going to be something that more not focused in lane and out of lane on the Talia for Young.
I was expecting the Ahri, since that's a really strong mid-jungle duo, but this is good as well, because you have gank setup, you have that ability to get around the map with that Weaver's Wall, and that's what we're looking for here. Especially if Town does lock in the Victor, you will be able to have that influence early on, and if you can pressure him with jungle attention, that's Young's way to get out and about across the rift.
Yeah, very true, and that combo has been so crucial, and something I really want to see that synergy continue to develop is him and Rosethorn. It is the Victor, though, first pickup for Town here in this season, and we'll see if that stability from mid lane can actually pay dividends for them.
That'll be the interesting one, because Victor is a pick where I've heard talking with the others that it's a little back and forth on how good the pick actually is. I'm a fan of it, personally. The thing that's very important for me, though, is that it needs help in that early game. You have a jungler like Sejuani, I want to see you mid lane. Especially with playing into something like the Talia, you got to make moves to, you got to hold Victor's hand just a little bit until he gets the upgraded laser, until he gets some components going into his back pocket here, and that's what I hope to see from NXI.
Well, we get definitely opting into the scaling aspect here as the last pick for CLG Faith is going to be that Gangplank. We'll see the Olaf as the response, so Concept ain't having none of that today.
All right.
As GGC definitely come out with a very stable comp where I feel like a bar of execution in the early game is definitely looking at how CLG Faith can get into this late game scaling that they've definitely drafted for themselves.
Right, this top lane matchup is definitely an exciting one because I love when Concept is digging deep into those pockets. Forget the meta stuff. Forget the popular stuff. Give me Olaf. Give me Sion. I mean, maybe not Sion, but you know what I'm getting at here.
Is the point. Go back on it.
Yeah. But Olaf, we like that. Even Zach would have been really cool. But this is a nice pick because you can really have that strong lane into, I mean, a lot of people if you're comfortable on the champ. And if you look over at CLGF's composition, you're well within your ability to run people down in these team fights, especially if Concept manages to get the early lead. One thing I like about the GP is two things. One, as long as Bijani can get through the early phase, not give away his life accidentally to Concept, he can actually not only scale well, but have a big impact on that bottom lane. It's one of my favorite things about this champion, especially since they changed teleports so that you could only teleport to turrets pre 14 minutes. You can still, as a top laner, have influence on that bottom side of the map.
Love to see it as we hit the rift for the first time. We actually got a little bit of info here, by the way, from Joshi. That Fizz hover, by the way, from Array, that's for his girlfriend. How sweet. So sweet.
I think you're mixing it up a little bit. That's not what. You know what? It's okay. We're gonna keep it moving.
I want no. Hey, it's a great joke, Joshi. It's a great joke.
It is. And, exactly.
No, but in reality, though, as we focus in on here, I'd have a little bit of fun with Joshi behind the scenes. We got Young versus Town, and we got a lot of focus on Town specifically coming into this one against Young, who has been the slotted mid laner of Golden Guardians Challengers.
Right, and seeing the Victor is already a different look, less of what I'm used to from this player in particular, but it's important because just like Young is able to play these mages on top of being that melee specialist, that breadth and flexibility is very important for someone like Town, especially at this level of play here in Challengers League. So we'll see how things play out. But the bottom matchup is also an exciting one with or without Bijani's influence because it's true, it's a common pick, but Lucian, Nami, and Tazeri Lulu can get very bloody and very exciting.
See a little bit of blood given on both sides down here in the bottom side as the faithful are showing up here. Make sure you're spamming in chat who you want to win, GGC or CLGF. I don't know if Kangas is just furiously typing from the other screen in the chat, but thank you all to the CLG faithful. And as we see the trading on bottom side as well, I'm definitely looking at the early pathing of these junglers. As we see Rosethorn heading up straight for that top side clear as well, having cleared those two camps on bottom side. We are seeing this kind of potential wraparound gank for NXI towards the bottom side with all the pressure that Golden Guardians are putting.
Right, and there's a couple options there where NXI can very well do that or path straight up to the top side. A couple of different ways to do this because something I like is when you take Olaf down in those early minutes of the game because pre-6, no Ragnarok. If you can set him behind, reduce the amount of gold he can pick up going into that mid game, that's another way you can kind of slow him down and neutralize him a little bit. But if you have some thoughts about the game and what's going on, random Twitch chatter number 1 through 1000, use the hashtag NACL on Twitter and maybe we'll feature your tweets on stream.
Or VFly can just keep getting
RV
so we did get that wraparound gank from NXI towards bottom side of the map. Even with all that pressure, it will just be the full clear at least for NXI on the Sejuani, which I typically like to see at least something a little bit of a foray into adventure for the Sejuani early on, but now we're seeing all this focus towards top side where Concept has gotten a gigantic wave pushed in and now is able to put some pressure on NXI.
I love this.
He doesn't get the grop there, but they push him out. It will be a back from NXI. Should be a blue buff stolen from Rosethorn.
Right, really good use of the prio there for Concept. At first, the bush there, the idea is that if no one's there, then you have a pretty good opportunity to go for a dive onto Bijani, but instead, Rosethorn just calls, all right, well, we're just going to take his buff, and that's a nice little lead you get for yourself early on. Thumbs up from Bijani, because, well, really, what else can you do at this point?
Exactly that. I think you're just kind of holding on, hoping those barrels keep you safe, and maybe a little bit warm. But
well, explosions do get hot.
They do, and he does have the firebrand. We actually see a little bit of butting heads between NXI and Rosethorn here and the Scuttlecrab fight, but actually a nice little move from Town will get the priority they need for CLGF to get that Scuttlecrab. So they will keep priority in both mid and bot, being able to utilize that for at least a little bit of pressure early on. I mean, we have Dragon #1 in a little bit, but wouldn't expect that to be on the table here since they have to go back. And that back is getting completed from Aaron. A little bit of tempo game, at least, in terms of that pressure out on the map for CLGF.
I think that's good, because now that is a pretty big buy Aaron's able to go with, especially with the longsword start that he went off with. It's part of why you saw Array and Prismal able to get the better of them on those first few waves. It means that you get to be able to get this Noon Quiver sooner. Get those extra stats. Array hasn't actually gone for the back yet, so there is an option here for CLGF to actually go ahead and start the Dragon. You have Town, who did back, has spent some gold himself, and you have this bot lane who is currently stronger at the moment.
I keep seeing these little bush plays that CLG are trying to play on. After they hit level 3, you get a decent amount back, but Sketch taking a huge amount. Young caught in a little bit of transition out of mid lane here. Does have to burn his flash. Yeah. That's definitely going to be a repeat gank from NXI.
Absolutely. And that's the pressure I want to see and what I'm talking about here when you have a Victor in the mid lane. I need to hold that thought because something's going on down here.
We do see a little bit of a 3v3 brewing. Vault Breaker is going to be used. NXI trying to run back in.
Oh, miss flash.
No, Rose Thorn, miss flash. First blood for CLG Faith.
Wow, that's a really nice turn from CLG Fate. That immediate, because once Vault Breaker is out, that cooldown is incredibly long early enough. So it's a good decisive call from CLG to be able to pick up first blood. No Dragon on the table, but they're happy to just continue pressing this advantage over the bot side and start to use this lead a little bit more. Really nice.
And that was a push that Golden Guardians actually kind of opted into in that one.
Yeah.
Nice little responsive play from CLG Faith. And that just leads to a lot of, at least, power towards the bot side of the map. I was actually wondering if maybe after that reset, we see them actually get back towards the bot side, go for that early objective stacking. But this is where things went a little bit wrong for Golden Guardians.
You can see it here. The Array is too far away to contribute to this in any way. So once not only the Vault Breaker, but also the Vi-E is used, so immediately NXI goes back in with that Arctic Assault, followed up by the Aqua Prison, and it's perfect. Array and Prismal can't do anything about it. Rose Thorn wasn't close enough to the wall to flash, so he not only does he lose the Summoner, he loses his life, and that assist gold goes over to Aaron and Sketch, allowing them to pressure more on this bottom side.
We're looking back at the top side of the map as some trading coming down, but still back. Actually going to be used here by Bajani, as I believe he's going to have to use his TP to get back unless he wants to lose this wave here. And Gods have just been throwing axes in the top side of the map, but we are getting a roam now from the supports, and this is kind of what I want to see, that cohesion with the team is. Oh my god, he hits it onto Young. He's in some trouble. Flash Bubble does not connect from Sketch, but Rose Thorn had gone in onto Town. Young a little bit too low to help out the rest of the team. And CLG Faith, they're coming out swinging here in this boxing match.
I'm loving everything I'm seeing in this early game from CLG Faith. Like, they're being proactive. They're making a lot of aggressive plays. And even if Sketch's Flash Bubble doesn't land, like, I love that he went for it. And it gives you that space with Young being low and having to back to go for this Dragon, and you actually have an opportunity to make a play for the Rift Herald too. It's going to be tough because Concept is level 7, has the Vamp Scepter, but Rose Thorn doesn't have the ultimate, so there is still a world where you can turn and fight this one. That's why Golden Guardians are immediately going to start it up and get it before CLG Faith can play for both objectives.
Yeah, I think that was some heads-up play from Golden Guardians. Realizing the timer was coming up, they started pinging down to the Rift Herald, saying, we just need to trade this objective. It's something I actually recently I feel like we haven't seen as much have in just the trades, but more so the contests. So nice to see Golden Guardians kind of playing the overall arching game here and trying to get some stacking in their own eyes. And now Rose Thorn coming back on the map with this Rift Herald. He's been floating around mid lane a decent amount. I don't expect him to need to come help Concept, but I expect this Rift Herald to be dumped into either Young or Array to get some gold.
Oh. Okay, I wasn't sure what was going to go.
I like it. I like where your head's at, Aaron and Sketch.
Me too. I like that they keep going for things, especially with the struggles CLG Faith have gone for. It's good that they're constantly trying to push for plays and make things happen. They're not just lying down and dying in a lot of the games that they end up playing in. And to your point as well, Young or Array, who are going to be the recipient of this Rift Herald, I think you're right. but there's also that option to go for this top side. Bajani has been farming admirably, but if you break this turret open and you get Concept that extra gold, it allows him to push that wave deeper and affect other parts of the map. It's true that as Gangplank, you don't mind that in general, but it's worth the risk because Concept will be able to move, walk to the mid lane, and against someone like a Victor, if you catch him unawares, he has to flash. That's it.
Oh, they're going straight in onto Town. They got the nice double knockback in Town. He's getting a little bit low. Those rocks do hurt. And Prismal's the one that gets it. The Cannon Barrage is not able to clean up the kill onto Rosethorn, and an answer comes back from Golden Guardians.
Wow, kind of like what I was alluding to. You get on top of Town, he has to flash, but it wasn't enough. They tried on CLG Fate's side, but Golden Guardians managed to come out without losing anything in the process. The only downside is Rosethorn's health too low to go for that Rift Herald play, but it's still gold into their pockets overall. And we're going to see it here. NXI is nearby thinking it's okay for Town to go for this, but part of it is the move from Prismal that makes this possible. Even without the wild growth, the extra shielding, the heal, and everything you bring to this skirmish gives the confidence and, I mean, the ability to survive. Look at that shield right there.
That's so clutch.
Insane.
Really, really clutch stuff from Prismal. And we were saying earlier on that first roam from the supports, it was nice to see that cohesion and just really good timing for Prismal to get out on the map here and try to affect this mid lane a little bit more. Because once you get this mid lane affected, you can get Young out and affecting the side lanes as well. And you're already getting 2 plates in the top side for Concept. So I think things are going bright as rain for Golden Guardians, as they do have just under a 2,000 gold lead against 1.5k just about.
And a lot of that is certainly going to be on the top side because of the lead that Concept's got going on. So the longer Golden Guardians keep things in the laning phase, if turrets don't go down, that is an opportunity for CLG Faith to be able to make moves on other parts of the map. Because if you look, Aaron's got some gold over Array right now. That bit of a CS lead. Some plates you can see have been knocked down on Golden Guardians' bot tier 1 turret. Means that you have these stats. The Serrated Dirk is a big buy for Lucian in the laning phase. Means that CLG Fate, Aaron and Sketch in particular, can really get aggressive here in this matchup.
Looking at the duo of Young and Rosethorn moving together, maybe hovering this bottom side of the map, but you actually see Rosethorn hanging out in the jungle for a little while as bot lane just continues to be what it is. And we actually see a little bit of Chicky Nuggy steal action going here for Rosethorn with a roam up from the bottom lane as well. And this is the kind of stuff you need to see Golden Guardians go for. Team cohesion is at an all-time high. Array comes over, the Ultra Shock Laser, and Array gets himself a kill.
And we're seeing the downside. Nothing's going to happen there. The Concept? Oh. Okay. So we're seeing the downsides of the Victor. When you don't have flash, you are so vulnerable. It is unbelievable. Rosethorn can just queue over the turret. No wave, take turret shots, and just ult you. Just because he can.
Yeah.
And his team can easily follow up on it. And you're seeing Town is being set behind because of all this attention in the mid lane. And
So
that for
much
Young
attention,
is going
by
to
the
be
way.
a big deal. Yeah, because Young will be able to have more opportunities to get off of the map. He hasn't done so yet, but that first Weaver's Wall is going to be very impactful.
I mean, Prismal's roamed twice. You've had Rosethorn hovering over all the time. You got Young playing with you in lane. I think it's been really a lot of pressure for Town to deal with. And especially with that roam, the beautiful timing. They got all the plates and gave extra gold to Array. So Array's going to go back bottom lane. He's almost on that first item. I wonder if when he gets his bag, he should be on it. And now we get a dragon potentially getting started here by NXI, actually. No, he's actually out the back there.
I mean, there's the option for it. There's still no ult from Rosethorn, no ult from Young. And if we look stats-wise, with the exception of Young, CLG are in a good position to contest this dragon, but they're opting not to, which I find interesting. You have the Glacial Prison, you have the Culling in the Tidal Wave. This should be your dragon to take, but they opt to not take the risk and just avoid further losses.
Actually, ping down towards bottom side, maybe catch somebody and transition down there, but not going to do it. And that'll be Dragon number 1 to Golden Guardians. So 1 apiece for both sides. The NXI tries to come back mid lane. We did have that lane swap already just because of what was going on in mid lane and all those gold given. NXI goes in. He gets onto Array. Array gets hit, but the re-engage there by the cease and desist right on a Sketch. And Sketch is down. That's huge on the cannon barrage. So CLG Faith, they're moving forward. Aaron flash flashing for the kills. Misses the shot on a Rosethorn, and Rosethorn gets out alive. But big capitalization from CLG. It's a trade of 1-1.
And they get Array off the map of all people. So that's gold into Town's pocket on this Victor who's trying to scale for late game. So it allows him to catch up to this lead Young's gotten with help from Rosethorn in the early game. And overall, that's gold back into CLGF's pocket. They didn't get that dragon earlier on, but imagine, there's no way. Aaron can reset, and CLG Faith have the opportunity to turn their eyes on that next Herald. Because yes, Array has the shield bow, but Zeri is that champion where team 2v2, not bad with Lulu, but team fight, you're waiting for 2 items. And Aaron definitely has the stat advantage.
I was looking at the moves here, as we do have Town and Young in the side lanes now, and a little bit of presence from Rosethorn on the top side of the map, at least. And would like to see them actually go for that Rift Herald now, as they have one item spikes pretty much across the board. Get the early Hydra completed there for Concept as well. The Black Cleaver first item from Rosethorn, and I think they will have the strength to contest this. There, it looks like Concept already got the memo, or maybe the Concept, and the rest of GG are coming at it.
Yeah, it is tough. Concept being this big pressure point on the top side of the map makes Rift Herald much easier for Golden Guardians to go for versus CLG Faith. And it's something they recognize. They're not going to take these risks. And at this point, you just want to minimize the impact that Rift Herald is going to have. They were able to largely do so with the first one. Now they have to do so once more, especially with the powerful all-in tools that the core of Golden Guardians have to offer. And realistically, the tier 1, it was always going to go down anyway, but CLG, they have to stop the tier 2 from going down.
Well, because Rosethorn's going to pressure and make them walk all the way around as well. This will be another charge coming through, and first tower goes down. Another one
they're going to get it
afterwards. 2 in a row, and the third at the top side. Golden Guardians, let the gold flow.
Now that's a big stack of gold that they've just gotten for themselves here, Lennon, and this gold lead shoots up to 4K. And you can see it, but Johnny doing his best, stalwart as always in the top side, but naturally this advantage from Concept was always going to be. You're hoping to scale, get to that level 13 point, get your Navori quick plays as well, and then maybe we'll see an impact on the team fights, but it's hard because CLG Faith, with what they have, they want to be at objectives first. It's so much easier for them to team fight if Golden Guardians are walking into them. And that's hard because right now you're losing a lot of pressure all across the map with these turrets going down.
I was really looking for the Embrace completion to hopefully be a little bit of extra oomph in the tank for CLG. Oh, goes a little bit wide there with the Glacier Prison. As Prismal throwing out the Teemo, and Concept showing up means that CLG Faith had to run away. And after this Vision game on the bot side is going to be very difficult to clear, as Golden Guardians will get entrenched before this Dragon starts.
That's unfortunate. NXI will have the ult back before Dragon spawns. Goodbye, Town.
Town. That's a Weaver's Wall, and there is no breaking through that wall, Town, as Rosethorn claims the kill.
You know what? With the wave not being there to actually threaten the tier 1, that could be worse. Town wisely holds on to his flash. It does mean that CLG Faith might have a chance to be able to still contest this next dragon, but it's still so much more gold going over to Golden Guardians. And we're getting to a point where if that dragon goes their way, pity prizes will be available. Those objective bounties. Oh, you know what? Before I could even finish the sentence, the game knows what time it is, and it is Golden Guardians time, as objective bounties will be up soon.
I do want to go back to highlight that little play. It's just a little microcosm of what we've seen really work to success in terms of the communication between Young and Rosethorn, and seeing this kind of drafted comp where they have that forward momentum and forward engage, at least with Rosethorn, and having Young be able to follow. It's little things like that in communication I think is so positive for these two guys, and especially Rosethorn on his comeback this year into Challengers, but Young as well, bursting on a scene, having that LCS time, and now coming into here.
It has been good for Rosethorn, being that player who we know before when he played on Golden Guardians and as well as CLG Academy, when it was Academy at the time, of course. Was a player who we knew was really good with early game plans and was always able to consistently get leads for his laners. We're still seeing that culminate now. Oh!
As you speak about it, he makes it happen. The double knock up here. Concept is just swinging away at the health bars of CLG Faith, and the faithful will not be rewarded as Golden Guardians will take the fight.
Oh, Golden Guardians just demolish CLG Faith. Look at Concept. He is running past this turret, seeing if Sketch walks up too far. And it's just unbelievable, the decimation that has taken place here. Now, Golden Guardians have this incredible lead, and we're going to see how that one started. Rosethorn, not only does he generate leads for his team, he generates objectives, whether it's the honest way or with theft. He very nicely steals this, and it's that perfect setup for the team to take down NXI before anybody can even do anything about it. And you said it. You give Concept the wild growth. Olaf, with any enchanters, feels so bad to play against because he's already borderline unkillable, and Prismal just removes the borderline.
And it's just crazy how much AoE damage is coming out from that Hydra that early on across the three members there. Obviously squishier members, but very, very powerful stuff from Golden Guardians here to kind of turn the sway of things, especially where that was a proactive play from CLG Faith. They were trying to go for a drag and try to get that second stacking, but now they've put themselves even further behind, almost an 8,000 gold deficit here. And now we're looking at Golden Guardians to try to make some more of these cohesive plays we've seen them be pulling off. Speaking of young attempts, but sees that there are 4 members there and decides the better of it.
Right, and you know, most of the time, I think it's a good cover for CLG Faith, trying to go for the bait here. We've seen many an AD carry walk deep into the mid lane at this stage in the game when it's really not their business. So Golden Guardians wisely do not fall for it. But now the rest of Golden Guardian is here. They're in a position where they can just pull the trigger. So CLG Faith got to tread very carefully.
All right, this is where we're looking at Bijani to get some damage down. We got a little bit of poke there, looking for NXI's engagement if they want to find it. And that is saying that the engagement powerful from NXI. If they get the damage down, they have the Aaron Sketch combo with Pound and Bijani having a lot of that burst damage. They will be able to pick apart Golden Guardians even with this big deficit, but they have to find the right end. They can't get caught, and they might just have gotten caught as Golden Guardians.
Oh my god!
And the blood starts to flow as Golden Guardians maybe being pushed back a little bit by Aaron, but they're being closed in on like a trap jaw, and that'll be a Baron for Golden Guardians Challengers.
And it's just the perfect trap. You have to check this Baron as as CLG Faith, and Golden Guardians were ready from the turn, from the get-go. And it means that this Baron is theirs. The gold lead just balloons and balloons and balloons. And it means CLG's Faith is now at the mercy of Golden Guardians.
Big purple worm for the Golden Guardians is Concept taking the top side. Sketch giving them a little dance off, says, you can't touch these moves. As we will see actually them moving down towards bottom side now and try to get those waves pushing in. The reset did come through for a majority of members. It actually looks like third item not completed. But we did get second items complete for a lot of the remaining members as we look at this trap that was let loose by Golden Guardians.
Yeah, and Rosethorn and Young have been so good this game at playing together for these kinds of plays. Whether it's the Vault Breaker or the Cease and Desist, always comes through with that Unraveled Earth, that seismic shove. You can't move for so long, and by the time you're able to put your hands on the keyboard again, all your health is out of the picture. It's just so easy now for Golden Guardians.
Now we see Baron and buff in tow. Golden Guardians pushing in bot side. Try to take another inhib here, at least an inhib tower. They will be at least CLG Faith getting something in the side lane as those bounties available. Bijani should be able to take that tower himself. See what they can take in the meantime, though, as the tier 2 tower does fall. Got Concept about to push into the mid lane inhib tower, and bot lane inhib tower soon to fall to Golden Guardians' might.
Oh lord, CLG doing their best to trade on the other side of the map, but it is paltry compared to what they've lost. The gold lead now up to 12k for Golden Guardians, and we're only halfway through this Baron. Oh, hey!
They try to get it. Oh, Prismal. That's a dirty flash.
Oh, they're going deep.
Back, though. Rosethorn is very deep behind enemy line, but Array is flashing forward, said, I got you, Private Ryan. I'm going to save your day, Rosethorn. And he goes in, gets a double kill for himself. This will be the finishing touches of game number 1.
Johnny, he's got some damage. They're respecting it on the side of Golden Guardians. They're going to walk away, but you can see the barrels coming through. He can clutch this one out. The damage from range is too much Golden Guardians will settle for 2 inhibitors out of the
Make
picture.
it
Oh, I'm
3.
sorry, 3 as this base
I
is
can
in
do
shambles. Yeah, I'm so proud of you, Lennon.
Thank you. I needed that. But we are getting that reset out from Golden Guardians again. They are so far in the lead that they should just be able to close this one out soon enough. They will come back on the map, I'm sure, maybe even go for that dragon. But their Baron buff only has about 30 seconds left. So just get powered backs and back out on the map.
Right. And Dragon's the only thing to really be playing for. For Golden Guardians, it's a might as well at this point because they have the tools to end the game. Like right now. They just need to walk up, pick somewhere. Literally, like, close your eyes, spin your hand around, and then point to the mini-map. And you can just go there and fight, and you win the game.
Looks like they're going to choose mid lane as their designated fighting position.
Okay.
And actually, it's Rosethorn going on the side here in a 1v2. Just throw it up to Timo. Oh, Sketch!
Hey!
Sketch gets the bubble. Let's go. Oh, but
Rosethorn did not
cease and
appreciate
desist
that.
Master, yeah. Rosethorn's like, no, you are not getting away from me.
Angie.
As that will be one down. The Weaver's Wash are coming out now from Young. Bajani tries to get the damage back. Can't hit it. And Bajani is down. So is CLG Faith in this game number 1. And we'll see if the Faithful can bring it back for game 2 as Golden Guardians put the finishing touches here. They came out swinging. And they will take in pretty convincing game number 1.
Tell you what, Lennon, they swung for the fences as they finished with a 14,000 gold lead with that Nexus explosion. An incredible start for Golden Guardians.
It is indeed, but that is it for our game number 1. We're going to take a small little break as we do get ready for Joshi's halftime show, so don't go anywhere.